here I'll have to toot my horn a little bit. I think, and that's why I picked the slogan for my campaign. What I'll have to give credit to my daughter. We were huddling with over that for 2 or 3 weeks, and finally she had a brainstorm and she said, "Dad, this is you." It was Laura. She said, "Revolutionary real reform." And at first I thought it sounded a little edgy to me, and then I thought, no, you know, I mean, she's younger than me. She's tapping a younger generation. She said, "Dad, that's you. I have a better time sometimes being outlaw than an in-law. I always question why things are the way they are. You'll have to remember my generation was a generation that protested and went to Vietnam." Go ahead if you need.
No, I want to make sure the red light's on, otherwise we'd have to start over.
So, I'm extremely objective when I go somewhere, and I believe a lot of people have gone to the Capitol and not remained true to their roots. And so for me, you know, I come here thinking that, to me, we need real change, and it's time for someone to bring this forward. An incumbent certainly isn't going to do this. Most people that are forwarded by the party process aren't going to do that, because I'll tell you something about the primary system. You know, what you do is, and I've been part of both primaries, or both caucuses, so I know full well. I've been a Republican longer than I was a Democrat for a short period of time, until I realized, you know, there was a little bit of lack of a strong business background with Democrats, and that's only locally. Maybe that's not true statewide, you know. So with that, the moderates there left, and I came back, but I decided that this time around, since these candidates are they're so structured by the time they get there, they're almost willing to take direction from party leadership. In that sense, I'm different, because I'm willing to work with them, but I'm not willing to back down on my ideas, and ideas that I think represent the district. I've always been that way. And if history's any judge, and if we're looking for an example, just look with my participation with both parties. You know, it's been a little contentious. I'm still easy to get along with, but I believe that you cannot lose sight of your core values as an individual. The party sometimes smushes them. It has a diminishing effect on personal preference. That's what got us in this entire financial malaise. Had people been more individuals. A typical example, people in both parties have to go there a long time. You have to have been a caucus attendee. You get to be elected delegated a number of times. It's sort of a status thing. Maybe you post a few signs, and eventually you get to be a candidate. Is that a good way to pick people? Or maybe they actually need, you know, to be credible people and be part of the business community, be running a business, understand taxes, how it affects people. Maybe that's a little more important. If we don't take our system back, we will lose it. We're not there yet. Some people have suggested at doorsteps that it's too late. And I said, it's never too late. I think, in many ways, this is a tremendous opportunity. And that's why I think it was one of the commentators I used. It was I can't think of his last name. He says, "Never waste a good crisis." It wasn't Obama's chief of staff, because I looked it up on the internet. It was somebody else, you know. And that's the case now. We never waste a good crisis. This is a perfect time to highlight those three issues. I'll tell you another example. I was part of the Republican Party with a candidate that was running for a first district seat, and he was going to talk to us at a local district convention, and he left very abruptly. And we said, well, why did he take off? And I won't name who it was. He wasn't that good a first district congressman. I got to know him quite well. What he did is he was going to Rochester and Minneapolis, and he was soliciting donations. He came back between $150,000 and $200,000 and was reporting back to us. And why did he do that? Because that's where the money is. So What do you think his agenda was when he got to Washington? It was what was on those companies' wish list. Was he responsible to the people in his own district? I always said maybe he should have gone door knocking. It would have been better, but he didn't need to because he got all the money he needed in Rochester and the Twin Cities. He left us that day. And that's how it's done today. Wouldn't it be fun if these people actually had to knock on doors like we did out here? So how do we start this new experiment? It's easy. We start right in our own backyard. Since we can't do it on the national level, we can't get rid of Pelosi. She can buy a new 757 if she wants. She can jet back and forth. We can't do anything about that. We can't do anything about a lot of things, but we can do something about our own backyard. And pretty soon another person will notice and another person will notice. And before you know it, we've got a movement. And there's nothing stronger than an idea. We don't need money. We don't need anything but this idea to succeed. So we start in our own backyard, and we come up with the idea of term limits, and then we open up primaries, so the top two on both sides go to the general. You don't have to go behind the doors to a caucus system where delegates decide who it is. Because people ask me, and I say, well, how did we get that candidate? Well, I'm the guy that's been there because for the last 10 years I've been part of both caucuses, and I told them how Ken Schumper got the endorsement, how Peggy Hansen got the endorsement, how our incumbent legislator got the endorsement 2 years ago, how it worked. It's a very closed system that doesn't always choose the best people, and those people are not willing to take political risks. We need people at this juncture in America that are willing to take political risks. Basically, that don't need a job. If you're going there for the job or for career or for money, forget it. You're going there to serve the public good. Like Mark Twain said. Mark Twain said, I support my country. You probably saw it on my wish list for my advertising. It says, I support my country all the time and my government when it deserves it. You know, that is something I think we need to bring back. My generation in the 60s and 70s were just those kinds of people. If we saw something, we questioned it. In fact, we questioned everything, especially when it came from the government.
So what, obviously you've got different experience with the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, and in general, I think, because there may be a lot of people who don't know what your experience is. For anybody who's watching the video, what experience are you going to be bringing to the table? Maybe if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, business-wise, community involvement, stuff of that nature. Just sort of what your resume might read.
Well, let me back up a little bit because you mentioned the parties and my experience with the parties. There are a lot of good people in both parties. There are. There are some delegates that probably shouldn't have been involved in the process, but there's a lot of good people. And the only reason this caucus system is working like it is because it's structured like that. If we change the law, people will work within different parameters. They're well-intentioned. It's not that these people are evil or anything. They have the best of intentions, but they're forwarding their own agenda. If we opened it up to a broader scope of ideas, it would be better. So it's narrowly focused now. The Republican Party does a really good job on business, on taxes, on core functions. The Democrats do a good job too, especially on the roads in northern Minnesota. but their focus is education. There's good folks, good ideas on both sides. Colin Peterson. If we didn't have Colin, where would we be? He's helped the agricultural movement on ethanol, on renewable fuels. He's a great congressman. He's a blue dog Democrat. My idea is it's difficult to break away from the party. The Democrats kind of do that okay, if you think about it, because you're still a Democrat. You may be contentious, but then they call you a blue dog. The Republicans probably need, I would suggest maybe some, for the better sake, for the sake of lack of a better term, they probably need some independent Republicans. It's a little dangerous to cross Republican Party leadership. You find your desk out in the office or something. You know, maybe that's not the best thing, to treat you like a schoolboy when you come up there because you're representing so many people. They need to open up a little bit. But I think that's happening. I think that's happening with the Tea Party. It's happening all over the country. They're finding themselves having to adapt to new ideas and bring people in because they thought their core base was shrinking. So while this sounds like we're talking about national politics, but again, we're doing it in our own backyard. You know, we'll open up the party structure. My own background that you asked about, I went to Winona State and couldn't decide, but business and economics has always appealed to me, macroeconomics especially, Keynesian economics. And so I like psychology, so I did a psychology minor. And it was very clear, late in the 60s, that my number would be up and I would be drafted. So I simply joined the Army. So I quit in my early senior year. So coming back during the inflation periods of the 70s, I saw no better opportunity than to buy land and start to farm. So I've been in agriculture ever since. I also hold a Series 3, so I've been involved in a small investment business, and I'm active in the markets on a daily basis, so I do trade. So I find myself watching Bloomberg and seeking alpha and reading business comments. That's what I do. That may either be good or bad, but it keeps me up to date. And with that, my community involvement is that I'm a part of Lions and the Historical Society in Maple. And I'm a past corn grower board member on the state level. And I'm involved with, I'm president of Fillmore County Corn Growers, which is just a local organization. Other than that, I was involved heavily in politics when I was in Corn Growers, and I've never been able to let that go. I've done a lot of lobbying at the Capitol, mostly on renewable issues lately. But I find myself an advocate for a good business background. People don't realize how important good business, good sound business practices are to our economy. If I may, they call this bridging. I'll just bridge to the state problem. To me, the state budget has ballooned out of control. We have 100 state agencies, and that's among the largest employers in the state, if not the largest. It's going to be really difficult. Now, one candidate that's up there right now, that's an incumbent, is going to want to cut government. Because they are the government. Guess what? They aren't going to do that, because saying that is going to admit they made a mistake. It's time we cut government. We cannot have the business community grow and prosper with a government that is soaking up all these extra funds and taxes, especially during a recession. In each recession we've had in our country's history, John Kennedy did it. They all did it. They cut taxes, even George Bush the second. They cut taxes and stimulated growth in the economy. Now we find ourselves where government has grown to such a degree that our debt that we end up financing this growth with through tax cuts is so large relative to GNP, we boxed ourselves into a corner. It's not so easy this time. And on top of that, we let a financial sector that went unregulated basically for many years because Goldman Sachs was really, what do they call it? We had a revolving door between Goldman Sachs and Wall Street and the U.S. Treasury, so it was government by Goldman Sachs. We have this mass transfer of wealth now to the bank's bottom line, trying to cover up their asset base because their asset base is still shrinking through deflation. Government was ineffective through all this. So larger government is not the answer. We need more effective government that comes back and serves the needs of the people. Can you imagine? Banks are borrowing at the discount window at 0.5% or less, charging 5% out the window and still losing money. Now, I think every businessman would like a deal like that. I think you'd make money and I'd make money. And we're not bringing it back to the bottom line. Does any incumbent say that? No, they don't.